Woofie. Woofie, are you going to tell everyone what your name is? Woofie is a barking owl. Now, barking owls can be found down the eastern coast of Australia, all the way from the Northern Territory, right down through southeast Queensland, where we're currently sitting, right down into Victoria. Now, they are a crepuscular species of owl, which means they come out a little bit during the day and a little bit during the night, usually early in the morning or late in the afternoon. And they feed on a wide variety of prey, from small reptiles, so snakes and lizards, to small mammals, rats, mice, bandicoots, things like that, and even birds. Now, believe it or not, Woofie here has the ability to take down another bird the size of a sulphur-crested cockatoo or a tawny frogmouth, which technically are a fraction larger than the barking owl itself. So if you have a look at those feet as a barking owl comes past you, just have a look at how thick and heavy set they are. And they're basically designed for taking down those larger prey items. Now, Woofie is going to head off, and we're going to bring out another barking owl by the name of Elmo. Now, Elmo is going to be flying around you a little bit differently, so again, please just stay seated as she comes past you and try not to throw any cameras up in her flight path. Now, unfortunately for barking owls, they're becoming increasingly rarer in the southern part of their range, pretty much from where we are in southeast Queensland down into Victoria. And there is a very, very simple explanation for this, and it has to do with habitat loss or habitat destruction, a common problem that is facing a lot of our wildlife today. You see, barking owls, like Elmo here, rely heavily on old growth trees to do all of their breeding. Now, a lot of our other native birds, even some of our other native owl species, will quite frequently use man-made structures or man-made nest boxes hung up on the side of buildings and trees. However, the barking owl, to date, as far as we are aware, has never ever used something that's man-made. So like I said, they do rely heavily on those old growth trees. Now, these trees can be over 150 years old, and it usually takes 40 to 60 years on average for a hollow to form big enough for a barking owl to be able to use it. So with that habitat destruction, obviously there's less of these trees around. Unfortunately, these trees are deemed as very unsafe for people to live around. They're usually very, very old and have lots and lots of dead branches that fall without any warning whatsoever. So when a new estate goes in or someone builds a house on a new property, these trees, like I said, are very, very unsafe to live around, and they're usually, unfortunately for birds like Elmo here, they're usually the first sort of tree that gets cut down, turned into a paper product or firewood or something like that. Add to that the competition with all of the other native wildlife, and then add to that competition from feral species such as feral cats, even feral birds such as the Indian myna bird that love to use these big hollows to do their nesting in. Now, the Indian myna bird is quite a small bird, however it's very, very aggressive towards other species and usually won't let them anywhere near it. Now, Elmo's done a fantastic job there flying around with Lee, and she looks like she wants to demonstrate to you just what she would do if she was to catch something the size of a mouse. So here we go. Now she's going to, well, she's just going to swallow that whole by the look of it. And kids, you'll notice that little tail there, that's for flossing. Dental hygiene's very, very important, and even the birds are into it nowadays. Now, what's going to happen there, now that Elmo's swallowed that down, her stomach acid's pretty good, but it's not good enough to digest the hair and the bone of that mouse. So what Elmo will do is within a 24-hour period, she will turn all of that into a little pellet inside her stomach, and she'll actually regurgitate it. Now, these pellets are a really cool way for scientists to discover or to learn what these animals are feeding on out in the wild. You can imagine it would be very, very hard to follow a wild barking owl around 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for a couple of years. So what they can do is actually go up to the roosting tree where these birds roost. They can ferret around in the grass, pick up all these pellets or castings from those birds, pull them apart, and it tells them exactly what that bird has been feeding on. Now we're going to stick with the owl theme, and we're going to bring out our next owl. This is Milo. Milo is a little barn owl. Now, if you think you've seen a barn owl before, even if you're from overseas, it is actually highly likely. You see, the barn owl would arguably be one of the most commonly found birds throughout the world. In fact, you can find them on every single continent except for Antarctica. And they're even still quite common in and around our suburban areas, and you can find them right up to the fringes of our largest cities. Like the name suggests, the barn owl, they are quite commonly seen roosting in people's barns, their tractor sheds. In fact, if you have a hole that leads into your roof space or the cavity in your roof, it's possible you could get a pair of barn owls move in there and start breeding away. So they adapt to changes in their environment very, very well, unlike the barking owl that is quite the opposite. Now, barn owls also feed prolifically on mice. They absolutely love mice, and they make up a large portion of their diet. They will also consume other small animals, particularly insects, but like I said, a lot of the diet's mice. So not only do we give the barn owl somewhere to nest, somewhere to live, but we also, without knowing it, give them an abundant food supply. With human settlement comes lots of waste. With that waste usually comes lots of rodents. And like I said, with those rodents, then usually come the barn owls. Now, barn owls are a great form of natural rodent control. One barn owl might consume 1 to 2 mice per night. That doesn't sound like a lot. When working in pairs, that's 3 to 5 mice every single night. And during breeding, now they will have 4 to 6 chicks at any one time. That's 25 to 30 mice required every single night from one pair of barn owls. Now, they don't just breed once per year like a lot of our other bird species do. In fact, if there's enough food around, so if there's a mouse plague on, barn owls will breed prolifically throughout the year. And they may have 3 to 4 clutches in a year. So if you do the maths on that, it is a lot of mice taken out of a season. And keep in mind that at 10 to 12 months old, those young men reach sexual maturity, and they will pair off and start breeding also. Now, what we're going to do is I'm going to ask you all, would someone like to come down and give me a hand with the next part of the show? How can I say no to that? All right, you don't know what you have to do yet, though. Alrighty, so what I need you to do is just come over here for me. Just stand right here. Yep, face me. Now we're going to put this on your left hand. Your other left one? That's the one. Right there. There we go. Alrighty, so now that's going to be a little landing pad, but I just need you to put this little bit of chicken guts just between your teeth. No? Geez, it's hard to find good help these days. Alright, plan B. We won't worry about putting it in between your teeth. We'll just sit it on the glove here. Now just keep this hand down by your side. Don't move at all. Hopefully Milo's going to see this and fly all the way over to you and land on your hand. What do you reckon, Milo? Just stand there very, very still. Stand nice and still. Hold that up. Big and strong. Oh, she's thinking about it. Nice and still. Keep your hand down. Hand down. Nice and still. Nice and still. Perfect. You're doing a great job. Now, Milo's going to see her little house at the back there, and off she goes. How about a hand for this young lady? You did excellent. You should come and see us for a job later on, I reckon. Alrighty, now, just take a seat again. I'm going to move up here to the back, but please don't feel rude and watch me. Just keep watching the front there. Actually, look over to the right of stage. We're about to be joined by our next bird. Hopefully. Alrighty, here he comes. Now, those ducks are going to go down to the dam. That's the smartest thing they've done today. So soaring above us there is Amiga. Now, Amiga is a wedge-tailed eagle, and he's probably going to go and sit up in that jacaranda tree for about 30 seconds, I reckon. That's his favourite tree. Or is he going to come straight? No, he's going to sit up there on the hill. Now he's laughing at me. Alrighty, so he's going to sit up there, and hopefully in about 30 seconds, he's going to come down here and join us on stage. Now, he is a very, very large bird. The wedge-tailed eagle is Australia's largest raptor, so our largest bird of prey. having a wingspan on average around 2.3 metres. So because he is so large, he needs to make sure that he has the safest possible route or entry into the stage, because he doesn't want to run into you. You definitely don't want him to run into you. He doesn't want to hit any of these poles or anything. So he's going to fly around for a little bit. You've got to keep in mind that even though it is a still day, it's still very, very hot. So there's a lot of heat or a lot of thermals coming off the ground, pushing him up as he comes in. So he's really got to test it out and have a good think about it before he comes on in. Anyway, when he does come in, you'll have a look at that tail. That's obviously where he gets his name, the wedge-tailed eagle, from that beautiful big wedge tail. Now you will quite often see these birds soaring at altitudes between 1,500 and 2,000 feet. Now at that height, obviously they resemble a bird, but they don't resemble much else. But they are very, very recognisable due to that large wedge-shaped tail. They'll feed on a wide variety of animals out in the wild, such as reptiles, mammals. Pairs of wedge-tailed eagles have been recorded on occasions taking down animals the size of kangaroos. So they can take down very large prey items. So when he does come in, have a look at those big feet, particularly those very, very long and very, very sharp talons. That's what they use. Here we go. It's looking good now.
Here we go. Yeah.
Isn't he impressive? Check those feet out. Alrighty, so, like I said, they feed on a wide variety of animals, a lot of small mammals, smaller birds, reptiles. Probably their favourite food, though, to consume would be carrion. Now, carrion is just an animal that the predatory animal finds already deceased, so it's died by some other means. Unfortunately for wedge-tailed eagles and a lot of our other predatory animals throughout Australia, a lot of this carrion is made up of roadkill. Now that's a good thing and a bad thing. Good in that the bird gets a free feed. Roadkill to a wedge-tailed eagle is the equivalent of us going to a fast food store. You walk in the front door, you get served and you get back out really, really quick. Same for them. They get the dead animal, they land on it, they have a feed and then they're off again. Unfortunately, a lot of this roadkill, however, is still sitting in the middle of the road, or very, very close to the side of the road. And a lot of these beautiful birds every year throughout Australia, unfortunately, die in secondary vehicle accidents. So they then get hit and killed themselves. So if you do see a dead carcass sitting in the middle of the road, it really does pay to just slow right down, give it a good wide berth, even if you think that animal's already dead, because there might be one of these guys or some other predatory animal sitting just on the other side of it where you can't see it. So if you go hurtling over the top of it, unfortunately, you might take out one of these big, beautiful birds. Anyway, guys, Amiga was the last bird in the presentation this afternoon. If you would like to see him and one of our owls down at the after show area, that's just down the path here on the left. Please feel free to come on down, ask us any questions you like. Other than that, thanks very much for listening. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.